Hi, my name is Chris Workman, and I lead the home-to-home ministry here at the Knoxville campus, as well as serving as the campus pastor on Saturday nights. And thank you for letting me be a part of your group discussion. This week we heard an inspiring message from Pastor Jim about hope. Did you know that hope is the birthright of every follower of Jesus Christ? Hope is something that we can always have, no matter what is going on in our lives. I've been spending a lot of time in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 lately. And in verse 7, it says, love always hopes. Or another translation puts it this way, love is always hopeful. And so when I live my life rooted and anchored in the fact that God loves me, and I believe that deep down in my soul, and I'm letting His love fill me, then I'm going to be a person of noticeable hopefulness. Do you know anybody like that? Wouldn't you like to have more of that in your own life and heart? I think we all would. But there are those times that we let our hope slip away. Times when we give in to the despair and we let ourselves fall into this dark place. And it's kind of like falling into a deep black well. We find ourselves down at the bottom of this hole where it's so dark and constricting and smelly, and it appears that there's no way out. And that's a place that God never wants you and I to be. And yet sometimes we let ourselves get there. But you know what? It doesn't have to stay that way. Recently I was watching the movie 12 Years a Slave. Have you seen it? Just a powerful story, a true story about a man named Solomon Northup who experienced the most harrowing circumstances that we could possibly imagine. Being abducted, being torn away from his wife and his children, and forced into slavery in the Deep South back in the early part of the 1800s. And there he experienced and saw others experiencing the most brutal and inhumane kinds of treatment that we can even imagine. And yet the thing that really impressed me as I'm watching this movie and seeing what he was going through was the fact that he never gave up hope. Other people around him were despairing of hope. They were despairing of life. They were coming to a place where they didn't think they had any possibility of ever experiencing joy again. And it would have been so easy for him to go there with those people, but he didn't. He refused to let go of the hope that someday he was going to regain his freedom, even though he really had no objective reason to believe that. He had no plan for how he could do it. And so I think that it's so important to realize that when a person loses hope, they've really lost everything. But as long as a person holds on to hope, they can endure almost anything. Now, as believers, that God came for us in love, in the person of Jesus, and that He Himself suffered incredibly unjust treatment and was executed and yet rose again, gives us a different kind of hope, a different grade of hope than other people in the world who don't believe that. In fact, the Apostle Peter referred to it as a living hope in 1 Peter chapter 1. You see, the reason that we can have a different kind of hope is that, first of all, we believe that God has a plan, and that it is a good plan, even though there will be bad things that happen in our lives and the lives of others that are near to us. We believe that God is working out a plan that is ultimately good for not only us, but others and His world. And secondly, we believe that with God, all things are possible, meaning that He can work out that plan. And that gives us a different kind of hope. It's one that's not based on our own determination or our own strength or ingenuity or ability to figure things out and fix them. And neither is it a hope that's based on luck, that we're just going to have good luck happen to us, or just kind of a wishful thinking. In other words, it's not the same as just hoping that it doesn't rain on the day of the big picnic. But instead, our hope is based on the fact that we believe historically that Jesus Christ beat death and walked out of his tomb. And the evidence for that belief is so compelling and so strong that it gives us reason to hope, because we know that Jesus can use that same resurrection power in our own lives, in our own circumstances, as well as the fact that God's plan for us goes way beyond this life. And so even in the event of our deaths, or the death of someone that's very, very dear to us, we believe that God's plan is still good, and those things that aren't made whole in this temporary life will be made whole in eternity. Now, in your group discussion, you're going to spend some time reading one of the foundational stories of the Christian faith. And it's a story in which people first lose and then rediscover hope. And I want you to take some time just to sit in that story. Put yourself in the place of the individuals in the story. And then apply what you read and what you learn and what you see there to your own personal story. But before we go there, let's start on a little lighter note, and let's think about the hope that we have beyond this life. Let's just take a minute to think about what is one thing that you hope to experience or find or enjoy in heaven. And just take some time, just kind of have some lighthearted fun with this. For example, Pastor Marty, he dreams of endless and guiltless Reese's peanut butter cups and being able to dunk a basketball like Michael Jordan. Now, personally, I think that in heaven, the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl every year. Because, I mean, after all, they're not only America's team, they're God's team, right? No, actually, in seriousness, I think that the relationships are going to be the best part of heaven. That we're going to be able to enjoy our relationship with Jesus and with the people that we love the most without our brokenness getting in the way. But take some time and talk about that among yourselves, first of all. What's one thing that you hope to find or enjoy or experience in heaven, either on a very serious or a very lighthearted note? And enjoy your discussion, and thank you so much for listening.